Hi, my name is Ross Satchell and this is my CSE424 technical presentation. We're talking about making one-off printed circuit boards at home, getting near professional quality at a fraction of the price and time. So usually when we design printed circuit boards, most of us will then send the Gerber files to a fab house, which are typically in China, to be manufactured. Most fab houses have a minimum run size, which is usually 5 boards. Now, while these services tend to be quite quick these days with turnarounds as little as 1 to 2 weeks, the fastest shipping option can be quite expensive, particularly when you're a student. So what if you only want one printed circuit board and you want it today? Well, you can make the printed circuit board yourself at home. Now, the most basic version of the homemade board won't have solder mask or silkscreen, but it will be functional for a fraction of the price in just a couple of hours. However, if you want solder mask and silkscreen, these can also be done at home relatively easily. So first of all, what we need to do is export the Gerber files that we need. Now, my favorite PCB editing tool is Eagle, made by Autodesk. So once you've finished your PCB design, use your CAM processor to generate your Gerber files. And these are what will be used to make your printed circuit board. So the output of the CAM processing produces files with the following extensions. So you can see GBO, GTO, etc. But for 2-layer etching with silkscreen and solder mask on both sides, we just need GBL, GTL, GBO, GTO, GBS and GTS. Make sure you use a Gerber viewer to check all the layers line up before you move on. So first, the thing we want to do is put on some rubber gloves and use a Scotch-Brite abrasive pad to clean both sides of the printed circuit board until it's shiny and clean. Clean it off with some paint thinner or acetone and let it dry. Then print both your top and bottom layers, GTL and GBL, onto some laser transfer paper in reverse. Before going further, place the components to be used, particularly chips, on the printed copper images to make sure that your printer hasn't shrunk the images to fit on the page. When you're satisfied that the images are full size, cut them out, place one on the PCB toner size towards the copper board. You're going to also want to cut out your boards to the size that they're going to eventually be. So heat up your clothes iron and carefully iron the transfer paper, making sure to press firmly against the board so that the toner fully transfers. This should take only a couple of minutes. Once you're done, let the board cool down for a few minutes and place it in water to soak for 5 to 10 minutes before carefully peeling the toner transfer paper off, making sure the toner has transferred to the printed circuit board. Any little bits missing of the toner can be touched up with a Sharpie pen. Time for etching. Now, I usually put my bottle of ferric chloride in the sun to warm up a little bit before I start, and while that's warming up, make sure you have gloves, goggles, and make sure you're ready to etch in a well ventilated area. So pour some etchant into your container and place your printed circuit board in. I just move around the container a little bit, swishing the solution back and forth so it's moving over the board, and watch as the excess copper is removed. Now, depending on how much copper you need to remove, the process takes about 5 to 10 minutes. Once etched, remove your board from the etchant and clean with soap and water. Now, you'll notice that the toner from the transfer is still on the board, so you can just use some acetone to remove that. Now, tinning the traces and pads. I usually do all of the tinning before I start on the solder mask. I want to protect all of the traces. So using liquid tin, pour some into a clean container and immerse your printed circuit boards for about 5 minutes. And again, I swish the solution around a bit, so try and speed up the process and get it quite even. And that covers your tracks and your pads and also makes them much more easy to solder to. So now we're ready to apply our solder mask. Now, solder mask is just a UV curable paint. So what I do is I paint one side of the printed circuit board and then carefully line up my transparency sheet of that particular side, place some heavy glass on the top and leave it in the sun for about 10 to 30 minutes to cure. Once that's done, I just clean off any extra solder mask with soap and water and a cloth. Any that won't come off, you can use mineral spirits to remove that. And then I repeat for the other side. Silkscreen. So you print your GBO and GT file again in reverse, and we carefully line up our prints with the printed circuit board and we tape into place. Now soak the printed circuit board with acetone and rub firmly onto the board for a couple of minutes. Once you've done that, just allow it to dry, which only takes about a minute. Carefully remove the paper from the printed circuit boards, and then you will have a printed circuit board with a silkscreen now on it. So the last things to do is you just drill any through holes, and then make sure you manually solder any vias in your design, otherwise you're going to have problems with things working. And that's it, we're done.